Hi, Brian here. Welcome to the Angels Dare. Hope you like a new intro. Here we're looking at a mini trains Baldwin and a train that I've pretty much built and weathered with all the troops, the Shuttleworth tractor too. So spent a bit of time building all this up and look forward to actually getting down to the nitty gritty. But for this particular video we're looking at an engine shed. I saw some prototypical pictures in the Light Track from Aris book, and it was a wooden frame shed and it also had an inspection pit. So here you see the inspection pit measured up, a little guy stood next to it, put the engine in just to make sure that it all fitted and looked properly sized, and then started measuring out the sizes for it. And yes, coffee sticks, don't we just love them? But here I started building frames, basically chopping them into four, built up 3 frames, glued them together and decided to start putting the strips in and measured it. I think it's about 130 long and maybe about 65 high or something. And what I started to do was glue them in with PVA, and then when it came to these smaller parts I chopped them up to put a little cross battens in, and they were glued in with PVA. So here we see one of the finished walls. It's pretty straight, pretty square, and the top part won't have any battens on it. As we can see here, that's deliberately left off because they actually had room to let the steam and the smoke out. These are temporary structures that they built in the War Department Light Railways, so I'm recreating one of them. You've seen me paint the wood before and weather it and do it brown in a previous video. I probably should have primed this wood prior to assembling it. I'm just very eager to get on with it, but I did eventually prime it all in grey using a different assortment of browns, light browns, and some weathering powders from WWS. Helped kind of blend that in and give it a little bit of the texture. And I felt that it needed a side structure for where it's going on the layout, so I designed a little lean-to, and there's a wee guy there just to kind of judge the size of that top spar. Again, all made out of matchstick, coffee sticks, glued together with PVA and Yoo-hoo. You can also see I've got a little table under there as well that I've built. The roof, I decided to buy the corrugated sheets from the Wills kit. You get 4 sheets. That one was too wide and too short, so I decided to shorten it a little bit, and well, the width wise, so it goes from the apex to the outside a lot better. And then I added on some end pieces from the 3rd sheet you can see here, and that's them just held in position to show what it would look like on the roof. And then this is the picture that I wanted to show you. You can see the strapping here, how the wood panels go across the way, not up and down, how there's an opening at the end, and that's from the Light Track from Aris, great source of information. So now we're going to move on to my weathering technique. Jason Jensen Trains actually come up with this, but I've got kind of burnt umber, a raw umber, a sienna, and then a light kind of ochre colour, which is natural wood grain. These are all the military colours I've got to paint for my soldiers. So I've got a little bit of sponge, dabbing it in, dabbing most of it off, and I start to put it on at the bottom edges of the corrugated sheets. So I'm just gently dabbing here, not too much on the sponge, and just working up from the very end of it and patching it on so there was some kind of thick parts on it to give it a raised level so that it wasn't completely smooth. So you can see the difference there. And then we start introducing the raw umber, which is kind of lighter than the burnt umber. You can see different patches of the burnt umber on there, and overlaying each area, some a little bit heavier than others. See how it starts to build up the tones. We want to create a nice rust effect on this. This is a building that was built temporarily. Then lines advanced to Aris, then the Germans pushed back, so this shed has been used pretty much the whole time over a long period of time throughout the winter. And I wanted to show that. It's basically the end of the winter going into March, and this is where the roof's quite rusty, not cared for in any way, shape or form. So I wanted to make it look quite dilapidated. Also used some soft pastels, a brown and a rusty orange colour, and I felt that this would give the texture where the grey was visible in the sheets. Because you're using sponge, you're always kind of hitting the top and not necessarily in the grooves. So I used the weathering powder to go in the grooves to darken up those areas, to remove all hints of the grey plastic that was there before. Basically want to make it look like a metal sheet. It suffered a lot of rain. I feel the effect worked quite well. It's definitely given the roof a rusty looking effect. I've still to actually put across the top part of the roof between the joins. I've still to add that in, but pretty much with the lean-to done, you can see the rust texture there. It's quite lumpy, gives an edge to it where it's quite gritty looking, and I'm very happy with how this worked out. It came together quite well. I took it through and put it on the Angels Shed to show it in kind of context with other 00 gauge 1 to 72nd 76 scale, and this gives you an idea of how the actual finished building looks, which will eventually be on the Angels Dare layout. Thanks again for tuning in, take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.